So who am I speaking with?
I'm Eric Hards. I'm with Lockheed Martin's Space Systems here in Sunnyvale, California, and I manage the digital media group.
So Eric, I really, really loved the session that you just gave on, webcasting in the enterprise. Uh, Tell me though specifically with Lockheed Martin, what are the complications that you guys are dealing with on just that very issue?
So, a lot of the things that we're looking at on the enterprise side is not necessarily just the delivery of the video and audio to the desktop, but how it's being used. It's no longer just a talking head. It's what comes along with that, the slides that go with it, the polling, the Q&A that goes with it. How can we take that data and make it more useful for the actual viewer?
One of the things that Kevin said from Intuit is the fact that when they employed the social media capabilities, like the ability to chat, there was higher engagement, higher viewership, and actually people rated the videos more. Have you guys included more social things, maybe just internally, if not externally?
We haven't done that yet. I think part of it is being driven somewhat by the systems that we're using don't have that capabilities, but they're all promising to do it next year, and I think we definitely want to roll that out for just that reason. It's definitely going to improve our viewership.
So let's talk technically. With how is your network set up now to handle video? Can it handle it well? What are you doing to sort of lighten the load yet get all the distribution out there?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things that Lockheed has is a enterprise-wide IT that kind of looks at the health of the network, how we're delivering both business critical information, but also the webcasting stream. And because of that, we have folks that are constantly looking at the amount of data that's going in and out of the network, what's going in and out of our firewall. We have centrally managed servers, and so all of that essentially adds up to being able to produce video that doesn't have any issues on the network.
So, so it's just like chronic monitoring, and I'm assuming like at what level bit rate are you shooting video through your network?
So we're in the 400 kilobit range. It's your typical 320, 240 window, 30 frames per second. And it works fine for most of the type of presentations we have because we're not doing what you call high production value material. It's certainly lit well and the people look good, but it's primarily a talking head. So not a lot of motion, your typical voice audio. So all of that comes across the network really well. And in regards to that other question, I think, yeah, it's a proactive look at our network. In fact, our CIO is now looking at things like whether or not we should allow streaming of content coming from outside the network. Music streaming, video streaming, those kinds of things that are not necessarily business related, and that actually helps me because that helps free up network space for my videos and my webcasts.
So one of the things that everyone said is the number one issue is just make sure it looks and sounds good, but in terms of monitoring, measuring, making sure people see a certain video, what is the importance to you, and what are you doing with regards to any of those things in terms of monitoring and making sure people see certain videos?
Yeah, a lot of our data comes from the users themselves. In fact, the presentation that I just gave on troubleshooting the network, one of the questions was, well, how do you know if the video was good or bad on the viewer's side? What kind of quality did they experience? And in general, we're more reactive, I would say, than proactive on that side. We'll wait to get that email from that person who said, oh, I buffered a lot or it stopped playing, and then we'll go take a look at to see what that particular issue was, as opposed to testing everyone and saying, yep, everyone's ready to see this video.
So do you have anything to, well, there's also, passive reaction. If you can tell the number of people who dropped off a video after 3 minutes, then well, either there's something wrong with the content or they weren't getting it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now, we only really monitor those videos that are required to log in. So we know you've logged in, we know what time you logged in, we know what time you log off. So that tells us how long you watch that particular video in general. You may not be in the office when you do that, but at least we know when you logged in, when you logged off. But that's only currently being measured for those where you actually have to log in. And we do a lot of videos that people don't log in for. You just click the link and you watch the video. So we're not getting probably the kind of metrics that we'd like to get from that side of it.
Is there ever a situation where you're creating a video and certain groups or everybody absolutely must see it?
Yeah, we do. Internally, it's not quite as bad as externally, where if the video fails externally during the financial results, you might start to see stock prices change. And fortunately, we don't have to deal with the external side. Internally, it's primarily a reflection sometimes of the speaker, especially if, say, that speaker is a technical vice president or a CIO, and they have issues with the being able to deliver that webcast. It could be looked at poorly upon their performance. So we definitely make sure that those videos are what we call cannot fail. They have to be delivered appropriately.